Good afternoon, traders. It's Mark here from the day trading room. It's just coming up to 3:30 London time, and barring any more serious action, I'm done for the day. And I just wanted to summarise some of the stuff that I've done and some of the levels that we've been looking at. As I mentioned on the Sunday evening video, we were stuck in the Dow cash was stuck in the range of 10,300 to 10,356, give or take 10 points or so. So what I was looking at was to see how the market responded if we broke underneath or above the range. The expectation, as I said, was for us to push lower, and that's what we did. We opened up out of the range this morning, which created a lot of interest. We opened at 10,226 on the YM and immediately pushed lower. The first 2 minutes was a bit of a stop pounding exercise. I think a lot of guys had some sell stops in the market for any trade under that range. So that's what happened. We got that little flush lower, and as I've said before, the overnight trade has revealed some interesting levels. It's not normally the case, but I think perhaps because the volume is slightly lower as we come into the summer period, there's a lot more interest in the overnight trade. Perhaps a few more of us Europeans and Brits are trading and getting involved in the overnight trade. But anyway, these levels here that I've drawn in purple on dotted line are levels of interest for the overnight trade. If I can just bring the overnight chart in here, yeah, you can see it here. This is the overnight YM, a 5 minute. So actually, if I bring it, just scale it back so you can just see what's going on. Okay, well there's obviously the open, but you can see I've drawn two lines here. I don't like to overfill the chart with lines, but just two levels that stand out for me that have been of reasonable interest. This 10,224 level, you can see fair bit of interest there, and the same here. We've got the 10,256. I saw some interest here and some interest around here, so that's why I drew those lines, and those were some sort of levels that I was looking at to see how the market responded to those this morning. Anyway, back to the original premise. The original premise was we wanted to see how the market would react while it was trading outside of the range of the last 2 day range. If it was comfortable there, if the sellers were going to step in and push it lower. And for me, this was a standard reaction. This little push down here, I didn't get involved in it. I just watched, as I do on Monday mornings. I don't like to rush in. So we've got this. We ploughed through the overnight low, which was this yellow dotted here at 10,206, and we pulled back. Now here, this 3 minute period here, or say 5 minute period here, is the most important to me. I want to see now whether buyers are perceiving this as value, and if they do, we can expect them push back into the range, or sellers are perceiving this as a good opportunity to get short and are perceiving that still as a good level, and of course they'll hit the short here or liquidate the long, either or, and we get a probe lower. So this was a really key level for me to watch. Now I was watching this and we saw this pop back up. We popped straight back up above this 10,224 level, and then in my eyes I was looking for the long. My trade setup was the long, and it was the target was going to be obviously a push back into the range, yesterday's low, and then back into this level here, which was a good cluster of resistance. So then we got a slightly downward cycle here. Just before the data, there was data due out at 3 o'clock London time, which is the housing market index. So I couldn't really commit anything serious until then. So I had to sit on my hands and wait. So I waited to see exactly what the data did. Nothing happened at the data. They pushed higher, pushed a little bit lower. So you can just put your line through that and say, okay, that's not repriced the market at all, back into as we were. So now we'd pushed low, we'd pushed high. We hadn't quite made any of the targets, and we'd started to pull back towards this good level of support here at this 10,224, which was an overnight support, and this 10,226 which was exactly the open. And of course we had this VWAP which was rising. So when we push lower through this VWAP, form this tail, and then push back up to this resistance level here, or now support level, with a rising VWAP, that for me was the key to go long, especially when we saw this high tick reading, which indicated that other people saw, buyers saw some value here, and they started to push higher. So this was my long entry here. I took a long entry here, and I had an obvious risk position for a stop, which was going to be below that tail. If we started pushing lower and below this tail, then obviously the premise was wrong. It's not, buyers weren't stepping in, and we'll wait for something else to set up. It didn't, and we pushed through. I also drew this little trend line here, very small downtrend line, just to see what would happen. Try and sort of frame the trade, and I actually used it as a marker to add to my long when we broke through that trend line. Something I have mentioned before in my last video, which was that these little trend lines are working quite well at the moment. Don't know how long they're going to work for, but it's just one of those things you've got to look to see what's working at the moment and try and use it to your advantage. So that broke and added to the long. Of course, the obvious first target for a scale was the yesterday's low, so we just pushed through here, a bit of tape reading, and actually I'm not going to give you every single exit I did, but I'd suffice to say, exited around most of my trade around here. A lot of resistance there, so we had this yesterday's low, we had the overnight resistance and support level, and we had the big range, which was this level here, which brings us back into the range. So I had the majority of my position was closed on here for a lovely gain, and I just held on for a few more minutes. I just wanted to see that 10,300 cash tagged, which also which was the gap fill as well, which was about 10,303 on the cash. I'll just bring that in to show you. I just wanted to see that final pop. I thought there was a bit more in it, so I had a few contracts left just to ditch. And yeah, we got that pop, got the high tick, managed to get it away right in this peak here. Perfect tag of 10,300 on the cash, and that was me done. Done for the day. Great little trade. It was interesting because the premise, we planned the premise, beforehand. We wanted to see how the market would respond. We had two ideas. If it gap lower, this to me was the crucial point of where I was going to make my decision on how I was going to play it. Any push lower, and perhaps we'd have double bottomed, then I would have stayed on the long side. But if we then pushed lower, then we would have been looking for shorts. But as it was, it became clear that the buyers were interested in this, and we got this nice little pullback, just giving us chance to get on. This was the final trigger, if you like, the push through that didn't follow through, then the pullback up. This support held. We were in long, obvious targets, and we had it off here and here for some nice gains. So I don't know what the market's going to do now. The volume is slightly slowing. We are back in the range, albeit only very slightly. We're just trading at 10,310 on the cash now. 10,300 is the crucial number. We may consolidate around that for a while. I'm going to set some alerts to see if we probe high to the midpoint of that range, the 10,325, or maybe the high of the range, the 10,350. And I'm also going to keep an eye on this uptrend line here. If the market stays in there, I'll consider it bullish. And also, if we do push down, I'll look to see if there's any opportunity around this support level here, because it has shown that there is some interest here, some players wanting to be involved. So that's how I'm going to look at the rest of the day. I'm going to sit back, relax a bit now. We've had an hour's worth of trade. Something else I did mention, this tends to be how I'm playing it at the moment in the summer. Do the first hour, set some levels to be alerted of, and then relax for the rest of the day unless the market shouts at you for another trade. So good trading, guys. I hope you caught some of that move. Don't overtrade in the choppiness. Wait for your levels to come. Manage your risk, and good trading. And I'll see you soon with another video shortly.